Opposition party ADC says it has rejected INEC's revised 2026-2027 election timetable. The party is alleging digital membership requirement may exclude opposition candidates. And civil society organizations have their fears about the 2027 election. They say there's a lot to fix about the election. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I am Sean Kimale right here in Abuja for you. Let's tell you about a major decision that has been made by INEC, which is about the timetable of the elections and some of the consequences of that decision. It's been revised and it means a lot. There are consequential effects on the election, the preparation. Elections will now come in January for the first time in a long time. So before we get talking and we get an insight from INEC and what this means altogether, an opposition party also will be talking to us about what this means, especially when they have come out to say they have rejected INEC's revised timetable. But first, let me tell you about what the DSS is up to. Operatives of the service today says they've arrested Shafiu Usman, the alleged mastermind behind a deadly attack on Equa Church in Ayetoro, Kogi State, where over 20 worshippers were kidnapped on the 14th of December 2025. The security sources disclosed that Usman was snapped at a hideout in Gombe State, where he had been lying low. During interrogation, he confessed to orchestrating the Ayetoro church attack as well as other kidnappings in Niger, Kwara, and Kogi State. Usman revealed that he collaborated with Ibrahim Dange Batijo, a notorious bandit operating across Niger, Kwara, Kogi, and Zamfara State, and DSS have apprehended that mastermind at that church in Ayetoro in Kogi State. There's so much to tell you, especially now that we know that the governor of Adamawa State, Governor Umar Fintiri, has officially defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress, APC. He announced his movement in a state broadcast earlier today. The governor says he's moved with all his cabinet members, appointees, and elected local government chairmen. After this announcement, the governor officially registered to be a member of the APC. Take a listen to him.
Recent events in the polity demands that we take decisive and strategic decisions. There are seasons for political exigencies, just like there are seasons for political expedience. We have come this far and built so much with the people that we are ready to move forward to align our polity to national politics. After wide consultation with a large spectrum of our people, we have resolved to politically align Adamawa State with the All Progressive Congress, APC.
Well, so much to talk about tonight. But before we get into all of that and what this means, ADC says that election timetable will not work and has rejected it. So what does this mean? We come back after we've told you about some of the other political stories we're following for you in our political roundup. Bring you.
Justice Joyce Abdul-Malik of the Federal High Court in Abuja has remanded the former Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, his son Abdulaziz, and his wife Asabe at Kuje and Suleja Correctional Centers, following their rearrangement by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on alleged money laundering charges. Justice Abdul Malik issued the order shortly after they pleaded not guilty to a 16-count charge to the tune of 8.7 billion naira corruption charges. In the same vein, the judge granted the ex-AGF and his son 200 million naira bail in the charges bordering on alleged terrorism and illegal possession of firearms brought against them by the Department of State Services, DSS. Justice Chizoba Oji of the Federal High Court in the Federal Capital Territory has granted bail at 10 million naira each to Mike Ozekome, SAN, and his co-defendant, shortly after their arraignment on a 12-count criminal charge brought against them by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. Ozekome and his co-defendant, Pomfa Hussaini, pleaded not guilty to the charges in which they are, among others, accused of forging documents, including an international passport and an irrevocable power of attorney to lay claim on a property in London allegedly procured unlawfully by the late General Jeremiah Hussaini. Justice Suleiman Bilgori of the FCT High Court has transmitted the case filed in the Fundamental Human Rights Enforcement suit filed by former Governor of Kaduna State Nasir El-Rufai and the Chief Judge of the Federal Capital Territory FCT for reassignment. The court had previously adjourned the matter on Wednesday, 25th of February 2026, to hear El-Rufai's bail application. However, Justice Belgore stated that he would be proceeding on leave, necessitating the return of the case file for reassignment by the Chief Judge. The suit seeks the enforcement of El-Rufai's fundamental human rights against the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, the Department of State Services, DSS, and the Attorney General of the Federation. Youth groups in southern Kaduna and other stakeholders in the Central Senatorial District of the state are calling for an independent investigation into allegations that the former governor of the state, Nasir El-Rufai, approved payments to bandits during his 8-year tenure as governor of Kaduna State. The demand follows renewed public protests over past security measures adopted to curb violence in many parts of Kaduna State, as the residents ask the anti-corruption agencies to also probe the alleged misappropriation of 432 billion naira under the El-Rufai administration. Operatives of the Department of State Services, DSS, have arrested Shafiu Usman, the alleged mastermind behind the deadly attack on Ekwa Church in Ayetoro, Kogi State, where over 20 worshippers were kidnapped on December 14th, 2025. Security sources disclosed that Usman was nabbed at a hideout in Gombe State, where he had been lying low. During interrogation, he confessed to orchestrating the Ayetoro Church attack, as well as other kidnappings in Niger, Kwara, and Kogi states. Usman revealed that he collaborated with Ibrahim Dange Batijo, a notorious bandit operating across Niger, Kwara, Kogi, and Zamfara states.
Thanks so much, everyone. There you have it. You've been served with your political roundup stories. The governor of Bauchi State, Senator Bala Mohammed, has met with President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa earlier today. The meeting, we understand, is about bringing the president up to speed with some of the development in the state. We understand that Governor Bala Mohammed equally observed the Friday Jumat prayer with the president. Take a listen to the meat of their meeting afterwards when Governor Bala Mohammed exited the room.
Situation of insecurity in my local government Al-Galeri of Bauchi State, where some bandits have become so emboldened and they have taken over so many ungoverned spaces there coming out from the Daji Madam. And we have been having some sporadic clashes and skirmishes with them because out of fear and paranoia, most of the inhabitants are running to other states and other local governments at this time of fasting, and that's why I visited there with the aid of security agencies, saw the situation and brought a report to Mr. President and sought for special presidential intervention. And we know him to be somebody that is very serious with security. Without any prior appointment, I only prayed with him. He gave me he saw me immediately.
All right, let's get to some of your major stories tonight, some of which is raising some concern. Civil society organizations are already thinking about the elections of 2027 and the processes leading up to that election. There was a meeting today talking about the preparations, the technical details of the preparations and the legal framework. Yaga Africa held a stakeholders meeting today where discussions around the technicality of the elections and what Nigerians should be expecting. There are demands of INEC if the elections are to be conducted successfully. Take a listen to those who spoke at that event today in Abuja.
And we're hoping that today we would have, deeper conversations about the BVAS, about the IREV, because as we all agree, it's a game changer in our electoral process. But even though it is a game changer, it can also be a source of distrust in the electoral process. And we've seen what happened in the 2023 general elections as well as subsequent elections. The accountability and the integrity mechanisms in these technologies have great impact on how citizens perceive that their vote will count at elections, but also the legitimacy of electoral outcomes.
Real-time transmission of results empowers citizens to track the electoral process, fostering an unprecedented level of transparency and accountability. Because citizens will lose trust and confidence if a law, a process that ought to have brought transparency is made conditional and not guaranteed. Even if you have the e-transmission removing the proviso, the attitude of the court is our greatest problem. That's my constituency. Charity must begin from home. And I've been calling my colleagues, both at the bar and the bench, that the viability of democracy lies in a very courageous judiciary that is independent, that be ready to call justice by its own name.
All right. Nigeria's electoral climate is heating up. And tonight, we'll be bringing you details of the mind of the African Democratic Congress, which has formally rejected the revised 2026-2027 election timetable released by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, describing it as a political instrument designed to exclude opposition parties from contesting the 2027 general elections. The heart of the dispute is a new requirement under the Section 77 and 82 of the Electoral Act 2026, mandating political parties to submit a comprehensive digital membership register by the 2nd of April 2026, ahead of primary scheduled for late April. The ADC says the timeline is practically impossible and gives the ruling party an unfair structural advantage, alleging that it could pave the way for President Bola Tinubu to run virtually unchallenged. Let's get to hear directly from the horse's mouth. The spokesperson of the African Democratic Congress, Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, is live for us tonight virtually. Thank you so much, Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, for your time tonight on the program.
Thank you very much, and good evening.
Thank you so much. It was about an hour ago that you released this statement, and it's concerning some of the issues that you've raised. It means one thing, that the revised timetable does not sit down well with your party. What are the issues you have with it?
Well, let me say upfront that the rejection of the timetable is only consequential to our rejection of the Electoral Act itself, Electoral Act 2026. You will recall that yesterday the opposition parties met, and we made it very clear that we do not accept the Electoral Act that was passed by the National Assembly and was hastily signed into law by President Bola Tinubu. But it is very clear when INEC released its timetable that we have seen that some of the requirements that we will need to meet to be able to field candidates for the 2027 election as contained in the Electoral Act is almost impossible for us to meet, because it's with what the law expects us to do is that within the next 32 days or so, we will have digitalized membership register in all the 36 states of the Federation that will be able to submit to INEC while giving them notice of our congresses or convention. It's almost practically impossible for us to do this. We know for a fact that the ruling party APC had commenced membership registration since February of 2025, and they actually hired consultants to help them in the process of developing a digital membership register ahead of the 2027 election. Now, what took them more than 1 year to do is what they expect us to do within 1 month. So we are saying that without prejudice to our earlier objection to the Electoral Act itself, we are saying that even in practical terms, these are booby traps that are set in the path of the opposition party. Because if you look at the law, it says our failure to comply means that we will not be able to field candidates for the election. So the automatic response to this, the automatic implication of this is that it is all part of the game plan all along. While we're talking about IREV and automatic transmission of results, there are more deadly provisions in that act that was actually probably the original intention of those who are in the amendment. They allowed us to make noise about IREV and all that, but their original intention is to create this kind of booby traps. For example, Section 84 that says that we can only do our primaries, we can only select our candidates through consensus and direct primaries. So do you know what that means? Direct primaries means that we will have almost an INEC level capacity to conduct election among our members across the 36 states of the Federation and FCT. And we are expected to do this and produce a candidate by end of April 2026. How is this possible? So what we are saying is that for us, we have reviewed this, and we are saying it's unacceptable to us, and we are sitting down and reviewing our options going forward. But we are not going to legitimize this. That's what we are saying.
So, I mean, the Electoral Act is law, and the INEC is acting on the Electoral Act, and they will say they're standing on the law. It then puts you in a very precarious situation. Are you able to speak to INEC to perhaps amend that aspect, requiring you to be able to, or asking you to, or mandating you to come up with a digital register of your political party members? Are you able to speak with them, maybe find what they call a political solution to the matter?
We are going to engage INEC. We are ready to engage because we are looking forward to the 2027 election. Don't get me wrong. We are looking forward to it, and we don't have problems. People thinking that, okay, we are doing this because we cannot resolve our differences in terms of who become our candidate. No, that's not the issue. The issue is that the stipulations by INEC, and I agree with you that INEC is only following the law. The law has been approved, it has been signed, and it is law. And INEC can only work in the ambience of within the framework of the law. But like you said, it is political, and INEC has the discretion to also find political solution to some of these issues. Don't forget that the original timetable that INEC published the election was supposed to be, the presidential election was supposed to come up in February. But people objected to say February will fall within Ramadan. And INEC said, okay, let us review it. We are listening. So we are hoping that INEC will also listen to what we are saying, that it is almost practically impossible for us to come up with a nationwide digital membership register within the time stipulated. We are not running away from the election. Whenever INEC says it's ready, they say we are going to do the election in January. That's not our problem. We are ready to do the election in January. But what we are saying is that these booby traps will make it almost impossible for us to be able to arrive even at the January. So this, whether it is done deliberately or inadvertently, we are putting it in the public space and we are making it a subject of conversation. Let INEC engage us if they are willing to engage us, and we will let us know what we are able to do. It's democracy, and we are saying that there's no system is perfect. But when you call a system of electing leadership democracy, it means that the playing ground must be level. It means that all participants, all contestants must have equal opportunity to participate. No one should have advantage over the other. The incumbent, the ruling party has advantage, no problem, they are the ruling party. But what we are saying is not just the advantage that incumbency confers on you, but it's the deliberate booby traps that are put in the part of the opposition. And that's what we object to. If we call this democracy, then we have to create opportunity for everybody to be able to contest equally. What they have done is not democratic, is not free, is not fair, and the outcome can definitely not be credible.
If you look at it, so let me ask you, what kind of database of membership of your party do you have?
Well, we are currently conducting our 2 levels of registration, the online registration and the manual registration across the 36 states of the Federation. But in addition to this, we are not required to submit our membership register. We are not required to submit our online registration record. We are required to digitalize it, to conduct. So that means that we have to distribute form for every member to collect their voter's card, collect their telephone number, collect their NIN, collect their passport photograph, across the nooks and crannies of Nigeria from Abia to Zamfara within the next 32 days and transmit that to INEC. Come on, Sheo. What does this mean? It is obvious that whoever is behind this is out to disadvantage the opposition. Look, this law came out just about two weeks ago. The 2022 law did not require this. The 2022 Electoral Act did not require that political parties submit digitalized membership registration form to INEC. So it's a new introduction in this, and we just know about 2 weeks ago. And the only party that is prepared for that now, because we believe they have insider knowledge, is the ruling party. Every other political party in Nigeria is seeing it for the first time that they will have to develop a nationwide digital membership register. So we are willing to do it. We are incorporating it into our registration process, but the question is whether we'll be able to complete it on time and be able to transmit it to INEC on time so that we'll be able to do our congresses and convention, because it's a major precondition. If we don't have this submitted to INEC as a requirement, we will, whatever we do afterwards in terms of Congress and convention will be invalid. And whatever candidate we produce in the process will not be acceptable to INEC. So what does that mean? The only next conclusion of that is that they don't want us to participate in the election.
So you do not object to the digital membership registration, but the timing is what you object to. Am I right?
Absolutely, you are right.
So if given more time, your party would love to adopt that kind of mode of documenting membership of your party. Is that right?
No. What I'm saying is that we've started the process. We've started the process of membership registration, e-registration, and manual registration. But what the aspect of it, which is the most significant aspect now, is the digitalization of the registration, which means that we have to collect all the information that we probably didn't prepare to collect in the past. Like NIN, NIN was never part of requirement to register for a political party. Now you are saying that we have to collect NIN, we have to collect passports, we have to collect beavers, we have to collect voter registration number, we have to collect mobile phones.
Since last year. You started this process since last year. What happened? Why did you stop it?
No, we didn't start the process. Don't forget that we flagged up our membership registration. Look, So the coalition joined the ADC, don't forget, in July of 2025. It is less than a year. It was in July 5, 2025. That was when the coalition joined the ADC. And that is when ADC became a mainstream political party in Nigeria. It means that millions of members that will join the ADC will do so only after the coalition have joined. And that is when the process of membership registration will commence. And don't forget, we spent 2 months waiting for INEC to recognize our leadership. So by the time that was done, we're already in October, we're already in September, October. So there was no time. And that was why, even though the membership registration committee was formed about last month or so, we actually flagged up the registration only about 2 weeks ago. So all these things take time. So we are not saying we don't want to do membership registration. It's a requirement that we are doing it. We're just saying we don't want to digitalize it. And we are not saying that we are not ready for election in January. What we are saying is that this appears like a deliberate encumbrance to ensure that we don't meet those requirements. It's booby traps, and it is conspiracy against democracy, against participation, and that's what we are talking about. And we are not going to keep quiet, because what you see with this government is whenever you raise an issue, they come with this righteous indignation. It's as if they are angry that you are raising question at all. As if to say, who are you to be questioning us? We are not a conquered people. We are citizens of Nigeria. And we have the right to raise this question. If we are practicing democracy, we must provide level playing ground for everybody. If this is not democracy, then let us know that it is monarchy. Then we should prepare to coronate President Bola Tinubu by 2027.
If the deadline is extended,
then we must create opportunity for everybody to participate.
Yeah. If the deadline were to be extended, can the ADC realistically meet the full compliance threshold?
Pardon me, can you take that again, please?
I said, if the deadline were to be extended, can the ADC realistically meet the full compliance threshold?
I mean, it's hypothetical. It's hypothetical. When you say compliance threshold, we are talking specifically in regard to this digitalization of membership registration and all the consequences attached to it. If we sit down with INEC and we are able to agree on the revised schedule, we will be happy to do it, and I'm confident that we'll be able to do it. But given where we are today, given the timetable released by INEC, and given the stipulations attached to it, it is practically impossible for us to meet that requirement. And if we don't meet that requirement, it means that we will not be able to participate in the 2027 election. It means that we will have been disenfranchised. It means that there will be no competition in 2027. And that is, we believe that is all that the president... Look, you see, it is very clear. We can see what is going on. It is clear. President Bola Tinubu does not want to campaign in 2027 to eliminate all opponents and oppositions. So at the end of the day, it will be express coronation of the president. But like I said, if this is democracy, then we have to create opportunity that everybody. We don't want to make history. Nigeria does not want to make history for bad reason. We want to participate in the election. We want an election process that will be respected by the rest of the world. And ADC, as a democratic party, we are ready to participate in the election. But we are saying that INEC has to listen to us, and we are ready to sit down and look at what is possible. But given where we are today, it is not possible.
So, I mean, if INEC refuses to shift the deadline, Malam Abdullahi, will ADC boycott the elections?
We are going to consider our options. I think we are jumping ahead of ourselves when we are having that kind of conversation about boycott or not boycott. I mean, that would be jumping ahead of ourselves, and I don't think that's what we want to do. We will consider all our options, and we'll do what is right for democracy in Nigeria. But what I can assure you is that ADC will not be used to legitimize a fraudulent process. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that does not happen.
You seem to have a feeling that something untoward is happening within INEC. You allege insider knowledge by the ruling party Do you have some concrete evidence that perhaps some element in INEC are working with the APC, or APC has in some way compromised INEC, if that is what you are inferring?
No. I think you are mixing it up. I mean, it's not about INEC. INEC, like I said, is only implementing the law that has been passed. It is not INEC's problem. What we are saying is that the amendment of the Electoral Act was done for a reason. It is part of a calculated stratagem to rig the 2027 election, starting from the issue of real-time transmission of election results. INEC came out and said we have the capacity to transmit results in real time. The former chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, said INEC had the capacity. The former commissioner, Festus Okoye, came on TV some days ago to say INEC has the capacity to transmit real-time election results from every polling unit in Nigeria. The National Communication Commission said we have the capacity. NIGHTCOM SAT, we will say we have the capacity. Why is the National Assembly and the government of APC saying we don't have the capacity? This is the government that only a few years ago was demanding electronic voting, was agitating for electronic voting only about 5 years ago. Now, this same party is now saying today in 2026 that we don't have the capacity to transmit results in real time. It is part of it's all part of the game plan. Now, then they went back and said, okay, we are bringing IREV, but if there is no network, then you can use from EC8. Of course, there will be no network. We saw it happen in the FCT election. There will be no network. So the Electoral Act gives sweeping discretion to electoral officers to decide whether there is network or no network. So there will be no network, and they will use the manual transmission. Then eventually they will go somewhere and tamper with the result, as we have seen. So it's all part of the calculated process. So when we were focused on IREV and transmission of results, there are more insidious provisions in the Electoral Act that I must admit that even some of us missed because we were focused on IREV. And this is what is coming forward now at the point of implementation. But what we are saying is that this does not bother APC, because February last year, they had commenced the process of digitalization of their membership register. Was that foresight? The answer is no. That kind of foresight is not associated with APC. It's not foresight. It is insider information, insider knowledge. The people within the government know that it's what they were going to do. The party knew what they were going to do. The National Assembly knew what they were going to do. And all this is part of is choreographed to achieve the desired goal. I'm not blaming INEC, and I'm not saying anything about INEC. INEC is only implementing what it has been given. It's all about the ruling party, APC.
All right, give us a moment. We'll take a break, but when we come back, we'll be hearing directly from INEC tonight, and the man who released the revised timetable will be speaking with us on the program. Stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Don't forget that town hall is important. It's for all Nigerians. The critical aspect of the elections of 2027, the INEC timetable and the timeline for the elections, and of course the Electoral Act 2026, what it means for your vote, and the 2027 election, and the caliber of persons that are coming. The political party leaders are represented, the civil society organization, technical people who can tell you technically how the elections are going to happen. Former INEC directors and leaders in INEC, they will be there, and everything is going to be laid bare in that 3-hour conversation. It's a Sunday, 7:30 p.m., just 2 days away. Please don't miss it. And you can. The good part of the conversation is a town hall. You can ask questions, and your questions will get treated. That is the beauty of it, and it's showing across different networks. The Channels Television here will be beaming it live for you. So let's conclude our conversation with Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, who has been speaking for his party, the ADC, who tonight has rejected INEC's timeline. But before my final question to you, Mr. Bolaji Abdullahi, I'd like you to take a listen to the National Secretary of the APC, Senator Basiru, Ajibala Basiru, who has a message for your party also, and I'd like you to respond to him. Take a listen to the National Secretary of the APC. This was a moment when they went to the presidential villa earlier to visit President Bola Tinubu.
An overview of what is happening in the party, particularly as regards success recorded at the world and local government congresses and preparation for the state congresses coming up next week, Tuesday. And to say that the party is waxing, very, stronger for average Nigerian people. They were not crying for development of our people. They were crying because of loss of privilege, loss of opportunity to continue to plunder the resources of the Nigerian people. President Bola Tinubu in the past 2.5 years have blocked all the leakages where some people are milking Nigeria dry. The growth of our foreign reserves from about $3 billion to $49 billion did not come out of the blue. It's not magic. It's because all those cesspool of corruption had actually been blocked.
You heard him, Malam Abdullahi. Do you have a word to respond to him?
It's laughable, actually, because what he's saying, I don't know. He's saying what he needs to say as a member of the ruling party, but it's against the reality that an average Nigerian knows. Nigeria has had to deal with in the last. This is easily, and I say it without contradiction, this is easily the worst government in Nigerian political history, and evidence abound. You can invite Mr. Bashiru to your station, invite me, and let us debate it. I'm asserting that is the worst government in Nigerian history. No government has dehumanized Nigerians more than this government. No government has inflicted more suffering on Nigerians than this government, not even military government. No government has the level of killing, the level of insecurity that Nigerians have had to deal with under this administration. We can go about if he lives in his office, so he doesn't understand what the people are going through. If he lives on the street and he knows what Nigerians are suffering on a daily basis, then he will not be saying what he's saying. But like I said, I'm here to talk about the INEC timetable, but if he wants to debate this, he makes an assertion, I'll be willing to debate him.
All right, just for a moment, give me a moment, because I'm now being joined by Malam Mohammed Kudu Haruna, who is the National Commissioner of INEC, who released the revised timetable of INEC yesterday evening. Thank you so much indeed. What a pleasure having you join us tonight on the program.
Thank you very much.
Incidentally, just about 24 hours after releasing the timetable, ADC had come out to say they had rejected it. In fact, some of the words that they've used is such that they say that this is orchestrated. This is planned to ensure that the opposition is not able to meet up. For example, which Mr. Bolaji Abdullahi had raised today, that how would they be able to meet up with digitally meeting up with the digital membership of the party as prescribed by your guideline and by the electoral law?
Well, I don't see what is the problem, the big issue with membership. Right now, they're supposed to have their membership. Every party, every serious party should have no problem collecting its membership. If INEC, how many members would they have? They can't be more than the total voter register of voters in Nigeria. We have over 93 million as at the last time. By the time we finish the current, CVR, that is the continuous voters registration, we'll probably add another 10 or so million. So that's a huge number. No party will have entirely that. So, and the technology for that, I mean, technology is becoming cheaper and cheaper before this. So I don't see how that will be a problem.
The problem here, which they envisage, is you have to match the number, the name and the details of the members with their NIN and their biometric data, which is now prescribed by your guideline. And the law has just been signed how many weeks ago? And now they have to do that between now and April. Just have a month to do that. Do you think that is feasible?
Well, I'm not an IT person, but from the little I know of information technology, I don't think that it's really that difficult.
Well, ADC is saying they are rejecting the timetable. How do you react to that?
What can we do? I mean, they are entitled to their opinion. If it is the law of the land, INEC does not have the pleasure of rejecting any law. We have to be guided by what the law is.
Interestingly, ADC said, Mr. Abdullah said, they are going to meet with you. But interestingly, he's meeting you right here on the program. Malam Abdullah, Malam Aruna is here. Before you go, if you may be able to tender your petition to INEC, albeit publicly, he's right here to listen to you. He was the one who released the revised, and officially you released the statement on behalf of your party. Now, the floor is yours.
Joe, you are putting me in a difficult situation because the person you are asking me to ask questions is my very, very senior professional colleague. So, and you know, in our profession, seniority is very important. You know, but the point that Malam Haruna said about why digitalization is not a problem. Yes, I agree with him. Digitalization is not a problem, but like you rightly noted, it is the timing, it's the time frame that we have been given. I mean, this Electoral Act was just signed into law about 2 weeks ago or so, if it's up to that, and this was not part of the 2022 Act. So, and given our circumstance, it is now that we will now have to start digitalizing the membership registration that we have collected. Of course, we have members across the country and we have commenced registration. So the question is whether we'll be able to meet this requirement within the time that is prescribed according to the INEC timetable. And like I have said, the problem, I agree with Malam Haruna, INEC can only implement the law that INEC has been given. But if you have INEC, that's why INEC is independent. INEC has a responsibility to ensure that it protects our democracy, that it protects the electoral process, to ensure that it is free, fair, and credible. But I know that this government is also not in the habit of listening to INEC. I mean, INEC has, for example, on the issue of IREV, INEC said we can do it, but the government is taking Panadol on behalf of INEC, saying that INEC cannot do it because there will be no network. So what I'm saying is that we're not blaming INEC. We are ready to work with INEC, and we are putting our concerns forward. And we are hoping that INEC will be able to sit down with us and we will look at the issues, the areas that we meet regularly as political parties with INEC. That's one of the good things. So we are hoping that we'll be able to deal with this as quickly as possible. But for us, that is the point. It's not about whether we have the capability to do it. And Malam Haruna said, INEC, yes, INEC has been conducting registration. But it is INEC that is a body, a government agency that is statutorily funded, that is statutorily charged with the responsibility of registering members. Even then, INEC knows how difficult it is to get these things done. I'm sure up till now there are millions of people on INEC register that are no longer existing, that are dead. And INEC has not been able to clean that up. So some of these things are not as straightforward as it is. But we are willing to do it. It's a requirement of the law, like you said. But we are saying that there is no time for us to do that within the next 32 days. And we believe that it is government's booby trap for the opposition political party.
How do you react quickly to that?
Well, I think he's already given the answer, which is that, you know, we have to work within what the law says, what the law prescribes. We really, our hands are tied about this. So it was really,
it's not your fault.
It's not our fault.
The law prescribes it.
The law prescribes it, and we'll have to act. We'll have to use.
But the allegation is that the ruling party is working from answer to the question. and that is a booby trap. That they knew this was going to happen, and they've started it a long time ago. And now the opposition or the other political parties, we now have to battle to meet up that very threshold.
But the opposition parties, so it's a question of, outwitting each other. They should have known all along that this is possible, and maybe, anticipated it, because they have members in the House. They may not be the majority, but I'm sure there is a way they could have influenced things such that at least it will provide a level playing ground for everybody.
But as the umpire, you don't wear the gloves. You just stay in the middle as a referee, and whether the blood is shed or there's any punch, you're not throwing it.
If the punch is foul, obviously you'll have to blow.
You have to blow it. But thank you so much, Malam Balaji Abdullahi. INEC has heard it. Whether or not INEC has the power to do anything is another
issue altogether.
Yeah, but thank you so much, Malam Balaji Abdullahi, for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Phil.
But by the law, when we saw it yesterday, we thought, INEC was reacting to those who say Ramadan and Lenting is going to be clashing with the election. Was that the reason why?
No, that was absolutely not the reason. You remember when we published the date, of course there were protests. There has been precedence on these issues. This is not the first time. People forget 2003, it was Lent.
Yeah.
And the Christian Association protested vehemently against it. But eventually we still didn't budge. The election was held on that day because I remember it was, I think, Holy Saturday, which was between Good Friday and Easter Sunday. But the election still went on this. I think what INEC did was to persuade the CAN and other Christian organizations that were protesting against it. But if you can go back further, even further, 1979, the presidential election that brought in Shehu Shagari as the president was held during fasting. But of course, you will say Nigeria has changed. That is like, ages ago, that religion didn't used to factor in maybe that much. Of course, religion has always been part of politics. But 79, that was what happened.
So it wasn't Ramadan or Lenten that prompted you to change, to revise it?
It's a new law because the timelines have changed. Not only of course, the most critical of the timelines is the one that says 300 days instead of 360 days. But there are other timelines. The timeline for parties to conduct their primaries, I think there is the section 28(9), for instance, cut it down from 180 days to 120 days.
Yeah.
There is also section 32, which is the publication of the final list of nominated candidates.
Yeah.
It was cut down from 150 days to 60.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this is bound to affect, the timelines, the original timeline that we gave.
So presidential campaigns will now begin on the 19th of August.
That's right.
Governorship campaign will begin on September 9. Literally, the election is this year. Because election is a process.
January,
it's not an event.
No, it's not.
January is the
Before you know it, January will be upon us.
Absolutely. And because all of the processes are beginning in the next few weeks and months to come. But in all of these, the presidential election and the governorship election are happening on different days. Is INEC bothered about what has now become a very tight schedule?
Of course, we are bothered by it.
One kobo has not been released to you by now.
No, the budget is still, has it been approved?
And now the law says 6 months, isn't it?
Six
instead
months.
Of 1 year, 12
instead
months.
Of 1 year, no,
for your money,
360 days. It's a shaved off 2 months.
Yeah.
So it's now 300 days.
For your money to be
released. For our money to be released as even
6 months.
6 months.
6 months.
It's half. So that's tough.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the things we require are not available off the shelf. You may have to get more beavers. We've lost some. Then of course, even the printing of our ballot papers and our result sheets. These things take time. Even for printers, last time around we were able to print everything we needed internally. But even then, because a lot of the raw materials are still brought in from outside and they're denominated in, it takes time.
Yeah.
So,
are you worried? Election is happening in the thick of the dry season.
Yeah.
Logistically, that's a nightmare.
I'm not too sure that that's a nightmare. I think it's even better than during the rainy season. You know,
is it?
The last time around was also in February.
Yeah.
So dry season, well, it could affect, let's say, flights and so on and so forth. But a lot of things that we move around is by road.
I mean, you know what is happening, except if you're not doing anything in Europe. January was a bit of flu, issues of flight disturbances and disruptions happened sometimes in January/February. And a lot of those disruptions, logistically speaking, operation-wise, is a lot of headache. And it's early in the year. Those who say the festivities and all of that also will be in the way. But technically speaking, is INEC getting ready? Or is it ready?
Oh, of course we've been getting ready. But I can't tell you that we are ready because a lot of sensitive materials, you know, we are yet to get the money, not to talk of procuring them. So
have you done an audit of your technology?
Oh, but of course we have. In the last election, your last one, that is the FCT, I'm sure people would have noticed there has been an improvement on the upload on the IREV. Because for each subsequent election, the lessons we learn from the previous one, we always take it aboard and improve on our processes as well as the technology that we use.
The voter register and its integrity is a big one, because in the heart of any reasonable, sensible, and fair election, there is a voter register.
It's the foundation.
Yeah. And is it being cleaned up? How fair or how clean is the voter register that you're working with?
At its core, it is very, very solid.
Okay.
You know, we have names, of course, of, well, I just pointed this out a short while ago that, you know, dead people still on the register and stuff like that. But we intend to do a revalidation, you know, of the voter register. But the main problem is, of course, we have period of publication for, you know, objections and so on. But people hardly, when we give almost, like, say, a week, 2 weeks, and people never get back to us to say, look, you know, sometimes it's kind of self-indictment. Some big men will say, my dad is dead. But you never told INEC that you're dead, and that is why the period of publication for objection, that's why we provide for that period. But people don't respond.
On a final note, Malam, is this election going to be glitch-free?
If I tell you that it will be glitch-free, will you believe me? Is anything man-made?
I've known you for almost all my life.
Yeah,
Malam Haruna.
Yeah.
So, but if you tell me that it will be glitch-free, I will believe it. I will hold you to it.
No, I cannot tell you that it will be glitch-free.
Your former principal, Professor Mahmoud Yakuba, said, as at 2023, we're ready to do anything technical and to transmit to result. So Nigerians will want to know, is INEC ready to transmit to result real time, simultaneously?
Absolutely.
Electronically?
Electronically, but people forget that we transmit only the PU results electronically. The collated results we don't transmit electronically, and that's always been the law.
Yeah.
You know, and people, it's the IRF thing that is the problem. And even with the IRF, it's the one that people hang on, that has become an albatross, is that presidential thing where there was a glitch. People forget that there are even the most advanced countries. I was in South Africa. I led a team of INEC to go the last general election. There was a huge glitch on the day that results were being, and it didn't lead to people saying, look.
Well, have you found out the real reason behind the glitch of 2023? Have you done an audit?
Of course, we've done an audit. And it's obvious that because we've never tried it at a national level, people forget that for the presidential, it's one constituency. The entire country is one constituency. So it's like a traffic.
So you've learned from what happened?
We've learned from that.
Right.
So hopefully.
There won't be any glitch.
Hopefully.
But you can transmit, you have the capacity to transmit the results?
We have the capacity to transmit the results. Even the last time we had the capacity, the only glitch was in the presidential.
All right. And you have learned your lesson?
We've learned our lesson.
No glitch in 2027?
No.
I wish you glitch-free election.
You won't put that word into my mouth.
Madam Mohammed Kudu Haruna, National Commissioner with INEC, thank you so much indeed for your time.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate your time. That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'll see you 7:30 on Sunday. The nation will be watching. The stakeholders will be in the mix. And of course, you Nigerians will be asking the question in that town hall. Citizens will be speaking about Nigeria's election of 2027. Don't miss it. I'm Shinwa Kimale. God bless Nigeria.